Well, hello, I'm Paul, and this is the Rad Paul channel, and so welcome. Lights, please. Alright, so today I want to go over one of my projects that I had worked on, and it's using a lithophane 3D printed illuminated art, and I 3D printed the case, and it has a motion detection on it, and so you can hang it on a wall. It'll sit on a shelf. So that's what we're going to do today. I got a different design though. For the one I'm going to show you is based off this picture of a bird that I took when I was out on a walk. And yes, I uploaded this picture to Maker Lab, and I converted it into a lithophane here that when we assemble it all together, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so let's get started. Now, let me show you this a little bit in the dark. So it triggers like that. A little bit of. You can set the sensitivity on this and the timing. Might be a little hard to see with the camera. This was a drawing that I had done on the iPad. And anyway, these are some other projects that I've done that are hanging here. So yeah, so I'll show you the electronics that it takes to put one of these together. Here's some other ones. Doggy. And just I drew that on the iPad. This was one of James's lessons on art with the pumpkin. And this was just an image, Batman, that I had taken, stock image. Okay, so that's just some examples you can do. You can do photos, like black and white photos. Alright, so I got everything pre-printed for assembly. The back. And this is for the lighting. I recommend 3D printing this in black so it doesn't bleed any light through that. Okay, and let's turn on some more light. Okay, so what I start with is I have some 5-volt LED strips, and these are really tight together on these LEDs. If you can see that. They're not a standard width, they're a little bit, you get a lot more LEDs per inch. So I like using these. They're 5-volt, which works good for these projects. And what I use is some of the 3M tape. I'm going to put 2 strips in this box to start. And I try to concentrate the light more into the center and not to the edge as much. And this LED strip will stick really good to this tape. Okay, so like that, a little bit spaced out. So now I'm going to prepare the LED strip. I just kind of measure the length here. And I'm a little more light. Okay. About there. And let's see, do I have scissors? Okay. No. There we go. So I do 2 of these for this small box. Okay, so I'll show you this schematic here that I drew up, how to wire this, but for right now, reading glasses, right? And I'm going to strip back this adhesive so I can get to the copper. And these are marked 5 volt plus minus. Okay. This doesn't take too long. Now I use these DuPont wires. And I cut them length. I cut the ends off sometimes. Sometimes I use the ends, and I'll show you that. I take this one and I just cut it in half. Trim the ends. Okay. And I'll just call yellow positive in this example. Solder that down. Okay. We'll call the green wire the negative. Okay. That one's done, and I'll take this adhesive and put it right back between those 2 connections to help keep them from shorting out, if that would be the case, but it hasn't been the case. Okay, so let's do the second one. I'm going to do it the same way on the wiring for the color. which is yellow on the positive. Okay, and green on the negative. So I'm going to hook these up in parallel to each other so there's no voltage drop between the two sets. Okay. Okay. There we have it. There. Okay. And so it's going to be green on green. Like I say, these are 5-volt LED strips. You can get 12 volt. So there's different voltages. I'm sticking with the 5 volt on these projects. Okay, so now I'm just going to add another wire to this just to make it a little bit longer. And it can get a little confusing changing color. If you have a new box of these wires, you could stick with the same color. And I got some heat shrink. I usually forget to put this on the wire, and then I have to cut it and re-splice it, you know. Okay, so I'm going to put the yellow and yellow together. And I'm going to make it white. So my white's going to be the positive with this yellow combination. If you had all red wire, that'd be great. Okay, and then the gray will be the ground, negative. That. Okay. I'm going to shrink these on. I put the blue flame on this, otherwise it's going to smoke. Okay. Alright, there's that. 2 sets of wires. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is install these LEDs into the box. Remove the red on the tape. Okay. This also has some sticky on it, so remove that. And what I do too is when I lay this in the box, I put the wires opposite of each other, so there's no chance of shorting out. And I'm gonna just kind of go straight in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So just straight. It's not going anywhere, right? Okay, so we'll do the second one. And these strips are labeled 5 volt plus and negative. Like that. Okay, so we can test it. Yeah, I like to test going along the way in case there's an issue. And I'm going to power these with 3 AA. It's just shy of 5 volt, but it works. If I was to go more on the battery count, I'd have to reduce that voltage to the LED. So I'm making it, keep it simple. Okay, let's see what we got. So this is the positive, and this is the negative. There you go. Okay, so checks out good. That battery, I don't want to short it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is run these wires through the hole. Like that. And I have a 3D printed wire stay. And just snap on there. Like that. Okay. So you want to try to keep these wires away from the LED, otherwise it could cast a shadow on the back of your art. So that's looking pretty good. That shouldn't be an issue. But if you had it like way over here or something, yeah, you're gonna see it on your display, so you don't want that. You could add some hot glue there to hold that in place. Alright, so I 3D printed this and I used some supports on the holes. So let me take some of that out. Okay. And there's actually a support in here. You can leave it. It's not hurting anything. But I used it for this leading edge here, so it doesn't. Oops, I went right around my wire. Okay, it'd be a good idea to take this out first. Okay. Check that wire one more time. Okay, so we're good. Alright, so now on to the next step. So we're going to install this art, and just keep the orientation of what's, you know, the top of the bird, I guess, when you install it. A little more supports to remove. So I I print this flat side down. There is supposed to be 4 holes here when I show you the mounting. Using supports, they kind of infill a little bit too much. They are there, but they get hidden because of this when I printed with supports. So, I think we can get around that. Okay, so let's install this like that. Okay, and then there's a frame. I'm going to go inside of that. And I use these, I call them ants. Those little black ants, see that? You get like 1,000 of these, under $10 I think it was. So I use these to assemble this. You could just glue it, but if you have to take it apart, using these screws is the way to go. And this bezel here, it had holes already printed. So make it easy. I designed these in CAD. Okay, so there you have that. You can't tell that the bird's head's up here. So, all right, so next, gonna install it into the outer frame. And it's just gonna drop down like that, and lay it on a flat surface like so. And when you 3D print, you print these little blocks, and these will be used to assemble the lighted part to the outside frame. And there's 2 are the same and 2 are not the same, so the holes are offset, so just look at the holes are offset, so just look at that, and they're opposite of each other. That too, okay, just like that. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it. So like that. See. Okay. All right. So and the holes are right on the inside wall, and there's holes in this box. If you print with supports, maybe you need to tap this a little bit to get the screw to start. I'm going to try not doing that. And same screws. I have a magnetic screw. There we go. Magnetic. And you could put it this way first. You could start that screw maybe a little easier. But it all lines up. Make sure I got the orientation right. Okay, I think I put it in wrong. So, so the way I can tell is these diameter of the holes were the same. They were 1.8 millimeter holes, but in the design, this is printing vertically up, and so this hole is going to be a little bit off round, and it's going to be a little bit bigger, so it's actually the one that goes on the wall. Okay, so I still have it wrong. Well, not really wrong. This one goes on the left. I'm just trying to match up this whole pattern to the box. Nothing critical, but okay. And there we go. So this is a start to finish video, so it could be a little long, but I wanted to show you the whole steps of this. But I'm going to show you how I wire up electronics. Okay. I can further tighten it here in a bit. Okay, so let's stop that. This outer frame, you could do any color, you know, that you want. I would just recommend the light part of the box, do it in a black. It won't bleed the light, because if you're doing this outer frame in a 15% infill, these LEDs will push light through the box and out through the frame, and it doesn't, not going to look as good. So keep your light concentrated in this box, keep the box like black. Put that on. Got all 4 mounting blocks in place to hold this all together. Next thing I'm going to do is install the PIR. Now this PIR has a positive, a negative, and a signal. And on these PIRs, the positive is always next to this diode. It's a little glass component, right? Positive is always on this side. Signal in the middle and ground, negative on the left. So we're going to wire it up accordingly to what I've drawn out. First I'm going to install it right into the hole there. And 2 of those screws. And before we do that, it might be easier. We need 3 wires, and these DuPont wires, they have female connections, so we need those. We don't need them on this side, so let's cut those off. And we can splice. And there's a hole here, you can feed it down through that hole right there. Feed the wires through there. Now let's install. Now, just going to keep in mind what wires are going to be to which connection. So simplicity, I use any color wire, but I just track my wiring scheme off that color, right? So blue is going to be my positive. Purple will be my signal in the middle, and the gray will be my negative. So I'm going to go ahead and screw that in. And there's 2 little holes down in there. is you can adjust the sensitivity and the length of time on the motion for the trigger, how long you want the light to stay on. That goes to connections. I'm just going to adjust it now. Okay, so we'll follow through with this wiring here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make up a little circuit board. I cut this piece of PCB board and I just 3D printed a bracket to hold that. And to make this work, this motion detector can't drive these LEDs. You can't supply enough current voltage to those LEDs, so we have to use a switch. And what we use are these transistors, and these are 2N222 NPN transistors. They're very inexpensive. Just need one. So let's wire this up real quick. So, in our diagram, so we don't mess up. Yeah, the flat side. I don't know if you can see that. Flat side. And it goes EBC, emitter on the left, base in the middle, and collector on the right. So that's EBC. So I'm just going to insert this. I try to space the holes out so it gives me room to solder. Okay. Like that, and I'm going to bend the tabs down. I'm going to solder that in so it looks pretty. Bring my helper over. Okay. That's the first part. So I got the transistor installed. So now on the schematic, we're going to use the 3 AA's, LED strips, sensor, and the transistor. And we'll keep working on this part of the board. So to take the heat off this little guy, you want to put some resistance. So we're going to use a 100 ohm resistor. I label them base. Yeah. So I'm going to put that on the base. Okay. And I will solder that base to that resistor. Okay. Now, we're we're going to add this 10K resistor. That's 10,000 ohms, right? We're going to add this to the emitter to the base. And that just prevents false triggers, so to speak. Yeah. So what I like to do is stand this one up. Gets tight on the space. So we're going to go here. And there. Okay, so this goes to the base. And this guy goes to the emitter. Like that. So let's solder those on. Okay. And I can trim some of this now. Okay, so got our 10K emitter to the base. Got our base 100 ohm connected to the base. And so what we have left is the collector, and it goes to the negative side of the strip. So it's just its own wire. So if you remember, if I remember, that my negative was the green to gray. So let's do that. Put that. Got my extra set of hands here. Okay. Okay, so that's looking pretty good there. So, like I say, that's the negative of the LED going to the collector of this transistor. Like I say, the transistor face is flat. I'm facing the flat side to me. Now, the next part is we need the battery coming in along with the negative of the PIR as well. So on here the negative was the leftmost wire, so that's the gray. So it's going to come in along with battery. Okay, black, and the some shrink wrap. So on that. Okay, just a second. All right, so I'm going to wire this up. So it's going to be negative on the PR, negative on the battery. And then, well, maybe I don't actually need that. we're going to go right to the board. Okay. This is going to go negative battery, negative PIR to the emitter of that transistor, which is going to be this corner. These wires wrapped. Okay. And right to this connection. Like that. Okay. There we go. All right, so I usually put a little bit on the other side of that wire, 'cause these wires are thin. They have a tendency to break if you handle them too much. Okay, now, okay. So the last part we have is the middle wire, which is the sensor wire of the motion sensor. Actually, we got that other one too. So that's going to be purple. And that's going to go on the end of this resistor, a 100 ohm resistor. Hold that, would you? All right, thank you. Okay. All right, do a little clip. Okay. So now I got one wire left, which is the positive, but it doesn't go to the transistor. See on the diagram, the positive of the PIR motion detector goes to the LED and the positive of the battery. So that's what we have left. Remember, we have this wire, my yellow to white was positive. Positive on the PIR. And positive on the battery. And I will use a shrink wrap on this. Okay. Bring those together. A little bit of solder. Okay. A little bit of smoke. Alright, it's not good for you. Okay. So I'm going to shrink that down. Okay. So that should complete the circuit. Now I'm going to test it. Hopefully we have a thumbs up, right? Let's see. If not, I troubleshoot, figure it out. There we go. It's working. You can't see it yet. I'll show you. When we're done, right? Surprise, surprise. Okay, so it's working. On to the next. We're almost done. So, what I like to do is put this on the little 3D printed mount. I just super glue it on. If you don't want to, it kind of holds it on its own. And it's just somewhere out of the way. This battery pack is going to fit, so just going to center that and put some double-sided tape on the back. If I don't cut the wire. And you can use hot glue. That works really good on this. This wire has a channel that fits in. Okay. This is 1/2 inch tape, by the way. It works good. If you have the wider, you just cut it in half. Okay, so we got that. And I'm going to go ahead and super glue this in because I like it. Just a little bit to hold it. Okay. Maybe not that one. Just a little. There we go. Yeah. I always get too much. Okay, so anywhere away from the center is good. I'm just going to park it right here. And that'll be there. And when I resume, did I put that on wrong? I should go this way. Maybe. Either way. Get a little room to that solder joint on the bottom. Bend this guy down a little bit. Okay. That looks pretty good. Check that connection. I check a lot, you know. Okay, we're good. So now, I'd like to tidy up the wires. Really quick. Dollar store zip ties. Yeah, nothing very expensive with this. Okay. Like that. Put one on this. Battery pack. Okay. And bring this guy down. so it's out of the way of the battery pack. So, down. Right there, see, and then this will go right in the middle. You don't want to stress any of your wires out. Around. Okay, so now take the adhesive off of this. Okay. Gonna sort of line it up. Just so you can get the batteries out, you know, without taking it apart. There you go. Okay. Alrighty, so there you go. Electrical's done. We'll just screw the back on. And I use these 4 3/8 screws. Okay, we're back. So let's finish the assembly. We're going to apply the backing to the completed frame and electrical. And I'm going to use these 4 3/8 screws. You get them at Ace, True Value. And I have a screwdriver. I think my battery's going dead on my screwdriver. Come on, baby. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, she says no, we're not doing that. So, this might seem a little overkill on this, but it is overkill, right? There's a lot of screws. But my design is parametric. So what that means is I can adjust this design with a spreadsheet and it'll plot, if you will, this whole design into another size and shape. So the holes stay the same. There's always going to be 3 holes on each side, but they will space automatically according to the design that I'm trying to make. So if it was this big, these holes would just spread out automatically. So. So the smaller design here, it kind of just brings all the screw holes in. Like to get it nice and flush. So there's one more little screw, the black ant here, on the bottom. Okay, like that. Okay, so that's pretty much the assembly for that, and we have a back cover that'll cover up this. A little bit more. Okay. So that can just glue on. Like so. Okay. Before we do that, let's test it. So, I'm going to dim the lights. Okay, let's see what we got. Now I didn't adjust the sensor enough. Well, when I put the battery on, like that. Right now the duration is very short. So that's that picture of the bird that I took. I think it turned out pretty good. Alrighty, well, I think that's going to conclude this. How to assemble this box. So you'll find this on MakerLab. You can download it for free and build your own. Alrighty, well, thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Alrighty, so I adjusted the PIR duration monitor just so it would stay on, so you can get a look at that. You can also, if you have access to a laser, you could laser cut a piece of wood and you can put it over this, add an accent color to it on the top. Or you could 3D print any color. So just by the way of a motion detection. Alrighty, thank you for watching.